that Desmond had been arrested by the South African security police. The message said that Desmond's mother and aunt had come to Zambia on a visit, that on completion of the visit, he had taken them to Livingstone to see them off by train to Joburg. While Desmond was seeing them off and their luggage placed on the train, Ian Smith's police had his car searched, in which they found copies of Sishaba and other political materials. When Desmond alighted from the train, the police escorted him to the office at the station. There he was held for several hours. Later, some South African security men arrived. Now remember, this is in Zimbabwe, Rhodesia then. One of them being Captain Swanepoel. That Desmond was in possession of a document proving his marriage to a British citizen was of no consequence to them, either to the Rhodesian police or the British authorities. Desmond was then driven to the security building compound in Pretoria and interrogated. He was placed in solitary confinement and, as I said earlier, subjected to torture during his time there in January 1968 to March 1969. His wife, Mary, managed to get his illegal detention and brutal treatment raised in the British Parliament. His detention was also the subject of a letter to the New Statesman, as was the same with Amnesty International and the Daily Worker. Eventually, Desmond was brought to court in Pietermaritzburg to testify against some political prisoners he never knew. He told the court of his long period of detention and torture. It was clear the state had no case. Desmond was released and expelled to Zambia to join his wife. What the security police was unaware of was that Desmond had smuggled out a message revealing that, and unaware to anyone in the outside world, a group of Namibian guerrillas were being held in complete isolation there. This message was passed to Philippa Ingram, a reporter of the Daily Worker who broke the story. Namibian refugees embraced Desmond for his daring attempts to expose the South African authorities for their illegal treatment of their compatriots. This is Paul's recollections. Back in Zambia, Desmond was given a teaching post in Mongo, at which school he excelled in the profession, which earned him a commendation by the Minister of Education for Zambia. In Zambia, he got to know people from many professions and formed lasting friendships. While in Zambia, he was invited by E.S. Reddy, head of the UN Center Against Apartheid, to a hearing in Geneva on his treatment in prison. In 1977, he and Mary and two little boys made their way to settle in Mary's home city of Southampton, where both took on teaching jobs. Again, Desmond's reputation as a teacher soared. During his years in England, he continued his political involvement with the anti-apartheid movement and the African National Congress. He also supported a number of solidarity organizations on Vietnam, Palestine, Cuba, and lately on the Sri Lankan Tamil people. He said he was a Dalit and was appalled at the treatment in India these people received when he visited there a few years ago. In 1990, he visited South Africa when apartheid was approaching his deathbed. Exiled South Africans were allowed to return. Desmond was one of those. Whilst at his mum's home, the police came and escorted Desmond to the police station in Lens. He was told he required a visa, even though he had a British passport. He said he could not understand this, as he was allowed through the South African Immigration and Passport Control at the airport. He was allowed to make one phone call. He called my wife, he called Adelaide Joseph, who was there for the same purposes, with a British passport without a visa. She immediately phoned one of the former political prisoners who had spent 10 years on Robben Island and was living near the police station. The person did not help and said scathingly that Desmond was irresponsible. That did not help. Adelaide then phoned John Carland, who was the Guardian's correspondent in Joburg. He contacted the police station for an explanation. He informed them that there was no basis for Desmond's detention, and he would take this up with the British government. The police relented, and after 12 hours in custody, they released Desmond. He spent the night at home with my in-laws, Adelaide's brother, Lester, Indonesia. Over the years, Desmond's lifestyle changed. He no longer wore a suit like your father, and a tie with a handkerchief and breast pocket and smart shoes. He grew a long beard, Exhibit A, untrimmed, and wore lungi in ANC colors, with a large print of Nelson Mandela on it. Instead of this tie, he wore beads, African beads and bangles. Andrew, you've got to catch up. He walked in pata sandals, cut out of car tires, which were widely used by the poor Africans. He looked a complete sadhu. Desmond became familiar in Southampton, Joburg, and Pretoria, lugging a very heavy rucksack laden with photograph albums, leaflets, cuttings, and letters in South Africa. He was never without a camera. He had a large collection of valuable photographs of South Africa before and after apartheid, stacked in his house without an index system. In fact, we offered to help him, but he's gone. He was known as the uncle, comrade, and friend, who quite often arrived at friends' doorsteps with a gift, vegetables, fruit, and chocolate. If the people were not in, he would leave the gifts by the door. When the door was open, there would be an exclamation, "Uncle Desmond was here." People would light up with joy at the pleasure of his arrival. He was much loved and adored by all who met him, especially children. There were two things that Desmond did as an expression of his commitment to freedom before he died. One was to arrange with a progressive bookshop in Southampton for the launch of a book by Beverly Naidu, the book Death of an Idealist, The Life and Times of Anti-Apartheid Activists. The book dealt with Neil Agate, former trade unionist of the Africa Food and Canning Workers Union, who was driven to suicide as a result of solitary confinement and torture by the security police. He was the first white activist to die in detention. The second was in response to the news of the death of Nelson Mandela, 3 weeks before his own death. Desmond lit candles and placed them before a portrait of Mandela. I think this was put outside his own house. It looked like a shrine. He was a most remarkable friend, comrade, and Democrat. Never did he lose fame or fortune, seek fame or fortune. He gave the best of his life for the downtrodden and oppressed, and deeply deprived, regardless of nationality, race, and gender. He is survived by Mary and Pippa, and her children, by the sons, Shamgun, Krishna, and daughter-in-law Lydia, and two much adored grandchildren. He is also deeply missed by the members of his extended family in South Africa, as well as family, friends in Zambia and England. Love, Paul and Adelaide. Desmond, born 2nd May 1937, died 23rd December 2013. Amandla.
Thank you very much, Hassen. I think now, I believe there's a member of the family who wants to say a few words. Mickey?
Thank you for coming to this very auspicious occasion where we commemorate someone very important in our lives. I'd like to start with the following words. Did I wake you? No matter what day it was, whichever morning it was, early part of the morning there would be a phone call. And the words, did I wake you? At times I was thinking of telling my uncle, no, I was waiting for your phone call. But I left it aside, and of course we started off with our many conversation. And when I inquire, how's the family? What are they doing? Oh, they're all asleep. So he would steal time to talk to us. I would always call him the great magician. He was far better than Houdini and all the other best magicians in the world. All those magicians made things disappear. But he was the only magician who would make himself disappear. He'd be having a merry conversation with family and friends. I can recall his late auntie, the Pop, Tati as we know her. Amma would sit there, have a merry conversation with him. I'm coming now, goes through the kitchen door of Auntie Pai's house, and boom, he's gone. Same thing he does there by Poobly, with Uncle Peter having a merry conversation. When you look for him, he's gone. Sometimes he's gone with his bag of tricks, that camera bag you mentioned, and other times leave the bag there at home as a decoy. So we think he's somewhere either in the toilet or he's somewhere at home. The sad thing about Uncle Tangwell was, when he came to family, we'd sit and have conversation with him. He'd get off the couch, he'd sit on the floor. And while talking to him, we look again, he's out for the count, sleeping. And after a while, I look at him, and all of us, I'm sure, did the same thing. Looked at him, admired him, the quiet man. And when he woke up, he did a blessing. Jesus, and he always mentioned to us, he's a Spaza Hindu. Now this is the man we love for what he said and for what he did. The honesty, the type of person he was. He believed in many things, and whenever he read an article, like you've heard there, through Hassen, by his friend and comrade, Mr. Paul Joseph, any article he brought home, we had to, of course, look at that article. There's his comments and his opinions. Mac Maharaj wrote, somebody wrote about Mac Maharaj in a newspaper, he brought an article to tell us and give his opinion. And he'd ask, he'd inquire, did you read it? What a great person he was. We talk of 4 gig memory, 8 gig memory, 16 gig. Today we talk about 64 gig memory. And I must tell you about Uncle and his memory. He had such a good memory when he came to dates, birth dates. He would remember everybody's birth date, their anniversary, and of course, the most important thing, he would phone you. If you forgot, well, sometimes there was a system crash and the memory couldn't work. But of course, he would remember us all, our birthdays. Now, Uncle Tanga was that type of character, if I may use the word character. He was down to earth. He never kept himself aloof, far from us. Whenever we asked him certain things about his struggle, he would be very evasive. He wouldn't want to talk of it. But of course, deep down he knew that we still wanted to know about his life, what he did for us. And today I believe also that his hard labor and all those fallen comrades, their hard labor, we share and bear the fruits, and we enjoy it today. Thanks to Tangwell and to all those other brothers who fell. I just like to end off with a quote from Rechter, who says that when thou pierces the heart of a man, it stands to thee in relation of a sea worm that perforates the shell of a mussel, who straightway closes that wound with a pearl. And that was the type of person that we can remember in Tanga. With all this torture that he's been through a lot of it, that it affected his health to such an extent that he had to be, on medication constantly. This time of the year, we all look forward to his visit. There were family members that were going to get married, and we all look forward to seeing Uncle Tanga. But alas, he couldn't make it. There was a call beyond us, a higher call, a higher order. But we can enjoy his absence in the knowledge that he is today with those loved ones, his brothers and sisters. And incidentally, he was one person that never, like his elder brother, never said he had a number, a close figure of 10 brothers and sisters. All his cousins were his brothers and sisters. I remember him still taking on the struggle. Although we have a new order in the country, he always did the struggle and be in the front line, shooting away with a big cannon, but this time it was a camera, going around. When Namibia got independence, Uncle Tangwell was there. Front line, go never look at those photos. If you haven't got it, I know he's left, I don't know how many gigs of photos with my father-in-law Stanley Morgan, with Michelle, with some of you. He left so many photographs. He's left documents. I had a file, a folder in fact, in my drawer marked by Desmond Francis. He bring items for us. In fact, I'm sure some of you did it. You gave me books to read, and he in turn gave you books to read. He even went as far as going to a book launch by Joel Joffrey, the lawyer who wrote about Nelson, or the state versus Nelson Mandela. In there, he went ahead and he got the guy to write a note to Tyrone and Michelle. I'm sure he did the same. Even took a photograph. That's what he wanted us to be continuously reading, not about his life only, but about other stuff. When we talk about his family going through the same thing that he's been through, the torture, his mother, his aunties, his uncles, his brothers and sisters, they've really and truly been through a lot. They were arrested by the special branch. The special branch would come home, arrest them. They would go through so much emotional, psychological torture, although he's been through it physically, emotionally, and psychologically. But he's come up triumphant. And of course, we've heard through the grapevine, there were people out in Indonesia, around the home vicinity, that were informants. But today, with all that, when I asked him those questions, he just smiled away, ignored it. Like those other stalwarts that came out of detention, came out of prison and so on. Uncle Tangwell was like them, didn't come out with an ounce, a micron of hatred. They came out with love, embrace the enemy, love the enemy. There's just one more thing I want to say about Uncle Tangwell. Sorry, I forgot to mention, we know him as Uncle Tangwell. Some of his comrades know him as Desmond, but we often mention his name, which is Dasingee. Uncle Tangwell would support the man in the street, free enterprise. He would come home one day, he went driving along here and on the road here, Clip River, the bridge there, he found one guy staying with a big fish, bought the fish, and he forgot about the fish in the car. And I think it was Nadia and Vinum's car. That's some correction, and she was, but he brought the fish home. Then he went on to Johannesburg, to the city, met street vendors selling peanuts, that roasted peanuts. And I'm not exaggerating, he bought 4 packets, big packets of the peanuts. Who's going to eat? But that's his character. He would come home, and apparently, he just didn't do this now. He did it when he was a young man as well. Buy the fruit and veg, like Paul Joseph said, and drops it off at the homes. Comes to the family members, fruit and veg. Goes to the flower market, a whole boot full of flowers. And not just the boot drops the seeds, so you must know how much flowers it was. Brings the fruit, goes off and go and buy flesh and batteries. But the best thing about Uncle Tangwell is, he knew the law. If he paid for something at Clicks, as an example, he paid, his money's went through, now they want him to sign. He wasn't for that type of thing of signing. Oh, there he goes writing a note. The date, the day, the time, you have my money, why do you want me to sign? On occasions, he would go and purchase things. I know he loves art and artifacts. He loves art and artifacts. And it so happened that he bought so many things to the value of about 10,000 Rand at Absa Bank. Art to take home. And unfortunately, his art, he had too many and he had to leave some behind. He wasn't happy about it either. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we all can, in our own special way, have so much to say about Uncle Tanka. But for a moment, if you could just do me a favor, I know my time is up. I could go on days in talking because I spent so many days. He was a time chaser. Time chaser because there's so much he had to make up for. And he would leave us and he would go and we'd leave him and he'd do what he want to. Just for a moment, if you do me that favor, please. Just close your eyes. If you met Uncle Tanka on a personal, the one-on-one, just close your eyes and just picture him. Just for half a minute. And you'll be surprised what thoughts and what pictures come to mind. And all those moments that you are now picturing, they are putting a smile on your face. Thank you for remembering us.
Thank you very much, Tyrone, from the family. As we've indicated that Comrade Desmond, known to the family as Tanwell, as Dasingee, Comrade